I've been waiting. Sunshine, why you playing? With my head on the time, you go way out of line.
Hi, it's your girl Serene. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Thank you for coming. Please come back. Go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, share, and hit that notification bell so you can be made aware each time I upload a video. Thank you so much for doing so. Really, thank you. So, today I want to do a review of the 6-part series produced by Jay-Z and Will Smith called Women of the Movement. Now, we already have the first 4 episodes done and out already, so pull y'all up closer so y'all can see them on Hulu right now if you would like. But the show is on ABC every Thursday starting at 8 o'clock. It's also a documentary following it called Let Them See. However, the show so far is just, I love it. I mean, I don't love what it's about, but I love the acting, the telling of the story. To me, it's just done so beautifully. This story they're showing us is of Mamie Till-Mobley and her son Emmett Till. They're hoping for a season 2 to tell the story of another woman in the movement. I think that's why it's called Women of the Movement. But let's get into what the first 6-part series is about, which I just told you. Mamie Till-Mobley and her son Emmett Till. If you do not know who Emmett Till is, even if you do not know who his mother was, you should know who Emmett Till is. A very important part of Black history. Unfortunately for his family, his death is what really brung to America what was happening to African Americans in the South. You know, they really talk about the difference of what was happening north versus what was happening south. During the Jim Crow era, you didn't really have, this took place in 1955, and at that point they had already desegregated, and they were supposed to be integrating the schools and stuff at this time, and the South was really pushing that and determined not for that to happen. And so this is a time where all of that is going on. The Mamie and Emmett Till were living in Chicago, Illinois, and where they were living, Emmett Till was already going to school with white children. He was, you know, the people, there weren't signs up there for colored only and stuff in their city. You know, they could go and spend however they please. It wasn't no denying of service. I'm pretty sure you still have people with the attitude that would give them the dirty looks. You know, not wanting to deal with them because they was African American, but other than that, they it wasn't as blatantly as it was in the South. Put it like that. The South, it was full blast. You're a nigger. We don't want nothing to do with you, and stay in your place. Period. And no matter how much violence and force they had to use to keep that going, that's what they did. Basically, the story Emmett Till, if you don't know, I'm going to give you a short version of it. A white woman claimed he said something derogatory to her and whistled at her, and her husband and his brother-in-law came to Emmett Till's uncle's house where he was staying and took him from that home and he was never saw again until they pulled him out the river. If I'm not mistaken, 4 days later, they pulled him out of the Tallahatchie River. And so, he was so disfigured. It was certain things they had to use to identify him. The ring on his finger was one of them. And, that's how he was identified. But they had beat him so bad that his face was smashed in. He had a hole through his skull from where they shot him. He had cuts all over his body from the head on down to his feet. I mean, they just really tortured and killed this young man. He was 14 years old. I think he was a little mentally disabled. He also had a very strong stuttering problem, which is the things that you will learn in this series. But other than that, he would seem to be a very loving, great young man who really loved his mother and was coming up to become a great young man. Anywho, he begged and begged his mother to go down south with his best friend, which is also his cousin to Mamie's uncle's plantation. He had a cotton plantation where him and his family picked cotton for a living, and I'm assuming selling it. They had a few animals on the farm too. Anywho, that's why he went down south, which would be Sumter, Mississippi. And that's what happened to him in the end from being there. Now, from watching the first episode, they pretty much start from when she's giving birth to him. It pretty much starts from the doctor telling her she need to put him in an institution because he had never walked or anything ever. And of course, that power of the Lord, and I'm sure some power of praying, he was walking and talking and everything. Like I said, you could tell that he probably had to be explained things a little more or differently than others, but he seemed to be just fine. So you could tell his mother was complete. In the beginning, she shut it down. No, you're not going down there. Like, you don't understand what's going on down there. No, you can't go down there. But he wore her down, and I think as a mother, especially me being a mother with a son, my only child, and he's 17 now, but I can understand at that age, you don't want to cuddle them. You want them to reach out those branches, spread them, learn, and be independent of you, but it's scary. It's very scary, and I can only imagine how scary it would have been at that time with what was going on at that time. Even though things we facing today is very similar, it still was even stronger than what we have today because it was accepted. They didn't get in trouble. They didn't get prosecuted at all. At least in our day, they might make it to court, even though they might not be found guilty. They still make it to the court. That wasn't always the case back then. Because you got to remember, sometimes it might have been the sheriff that did it to you. You know, there was people in high positions doing... It's not what this is about. The second part is, of course, them searching for Emmett Till. Well, really it's more so of the kidnapping of him. The first part, you really just got the gist of him having fun and then learning how serious the things were down there. And the first time you finally see Emmett Till understood and was scared. The second one is him, you know, you can see him understanding, well, not really understanding, because he says continuously to his cousins he didn't do anything wrong, so he didn't understand. yeah, what annoyed me to no end is that I just don't. His cousins who grew up in this environment, who live there every day of their lives, I do not understand how they felt it was not important to inform their father of what happened and what had went down, so that he knew what could possibly happen, so that he could possibly send him home safe. That annoyed me. It really did. Not saying that they should have had to deal with that to begin with. I get that part. But yeah, that part annoyed me. In the second episode, they pretty much find him by the end. You know, you see him getting took, you see them find him. You see the sheriff talk to the two men who was responsible for taking him, who never even denied that they didn't take him. They told them, yeah, we took him. He did what he did. He had to get taught a lesson. Never denied it. But why would they? When they're made to feel by the law, it's okay what they did. So, anywho, the third episode, Mamie had to literally fight, of course, with the help of the NAACP, to get her baby home, because the sheriff in Mississippi literally tried to put him in the ground so no one could ever see him. Now, the sheriff in the town where his body was discovered, he was very upset what happened to this 14-year-old child, because, and I think the reason he was so upset, even though he's a white man, and his deputy too, I think it was the fact that it was a child. You even, if you watch the documentary, some of the white Mississippians that was alive at that time said, you know, a lot of them would have been accepting of him getting whooped, but to savagely kill him was a different story, because he was a child. And as far as they was concerned, they took it too far, because that was a child. But they did what they did, and yeah, she had to go through some things. I couldn't believe this sheriff was really trying to put this boy's body in the ground without his mother's permission and without her even seeing her son. I'm still trying to understand how a sheriff can have that type of authority to do that type of thing. I'm still stuck on that. You know, I don't know if all sheriffs in every city, north or south, had this type of ability, or if it was just this sheriff overstepping his bounds. But of course, nobody's going to check him about it. Well, this is the time where you see his cousin step up and say, there is no way, telling their father that there is no way you can allow them to put Emmett in the ground like that without his mother knowing, period. He deserves to go home. They got his body home, and the men, meaning the coroner in Chicago, along with the mayor of Chicago, who got involved also, and the sheriff from Mississippi, he agreed to only release the body if they all agreed in Chicago to never break the seal and show the mother her son's body. Somebody should have stopped and had this talk with Mamie before they decided this, because baby, when that box got there, she said, y'all gonna open this box. You don't want to open it? That's fine. Somebody find me a crowbar. Because there is no mother, I don't care who you are, No mother is going to bury their child without seeing them. I don't care what he looks like. Period. So she saw his body, and you pretty much see how and why she made the decision to allow the photographer for Jet magazine, whose name I cannot think of right now, but he was a very famous photographer. In the next review, I'll tell y'all his name because I really can't remember right now. Anywho, he took the famous picture, which ended up on Jet magazine, of Emmett Till, which is, you can pull up on any Google search. If you've never seen it, I have. I've even done a paper on Emmett Till when I was in high school. It just really hurts your soul to see it. It does. She had a open funerals, and thousands of people showed up to view his body, to see what had happened to her son, and that's how she did it. And after that happened, the sheriff in Mississippi decided to start denying that the body was actually Emmett Till. That Emmett Till was probably somewhere just laughing it up. It's all a hoax. He's alive. This is what the sheriff started stating. Now he's in protect mode of the two white men who killed him. One was like a war veteran, and then the other one owned a grocery store there. I don't know if it was the only grocery store there. It might have been the only grocery store in their town. Anywho, yeah. So they do end up getting arrested. Even though the prosecutor had to really argue with the sheriff about doing so. A lot of sneaky deaky things was going on. You know, it was not only the two white men, but it was some black men with them that helped them kidnap Emmett Till. And those two disappeared. Now, if you watch the documentary, you will know that the sheriff actually arrested them under different names so they wouldn't be found by any of the prosecutor or any of the lawyers that was helping the prosecution from the NAACP. They did in the fourth, because now I'm going into the fourth episode. I don't think I said that. They had to end up smuggling Mamie into Mississippi, like the Underground Railroad. Like, they had to do safe houses and everything. And it was like going backwards, because you know the Underground Railroad took you out the South, but she had to go into the South. She ended up staying with a Dr. Howard. As a matter of fact, his full name is Dr. Theodore Roosevelt Mason Howard. That's his full name. So he was a surgeon, and he lived in a basically all black town. So yeah, he lived in an all-black town called Mound Bayou, Mississippi, found by free slaves. I think sometime in the 1800s, like 1887, and where they had a hospital that all black workers. It was really beautiful. I mean, they had a city pool. All the kids was playing that, and all the homes were lovely and had lovely yards. You could just tell them black people was happy, honey, in their little town, and they didn't have to go nowhere. And it was crazy because he actually discussed how he organized a boycott of the gas stations along the highway near their town because they were denying them access to the bathrooms, the African Americans. So they decided, well, we don't need your gas neither. And it actually was successful enough where the gas stations provided bathrooms for the colored people. He actually discussed that in the fourth episode when he was talking to oh no, he discussed that in the third episode when he was talking to Medgar Evers and Ruby Hurley. They show up at this point. They're helping. And if you don't know who they is, I'm gonna need you to really get into your Black history, because these are people you should know. They played a very pivotal point in where we are today. Period. Anywho, so I hope that with this women in the movements, we do get a story for Ruby Hurley. Because I think it would be good and juicy. Because she was something else. She was kind of something else, honey. She was a little baddie right there. That's what I like to call a baddie. You know, anywho. Now they're in court. We see them question her uncle, Mose. And you know, they really just tried to make it seem like he didn't know what he was talking about. He's just an old silly man and confused and all of that. But rather people realize how dangerous and really was brave on his part to even show up to testify. Not only show up and testify, but he did it with his head up high. And he pointed them white men out with no hesitation. It was them. He had already sent his wife and kids away. He had to explain to his youngest son, who was in the bed with Emmett Till when they took him. So they tried to call him. Said they was going to possibly call him to testify. And his son was there with him, asking him, you know, when is he going to be able to go back home? And he had to explain to him that he never could go back home. And so I felt that was kind of sad. I think they all knew that they wouldn't, especially in one of the fourth episode, the sheriff, Mamie, literally, when they leave the courthouse for lunch, the sheriff was sitting having lunch with the defendants, the murderers. Okay, my battery died, so I'm gonna need y'all to hold up a second. Okay. So yeah, seeing how the town, I think it was like 5 or 6 lawyers at the whole town, and they all got together to defend the defendants that did the murdering. The town had jars on the counters asking for donations for those gentlemen legal fees. Yeah. How crazy is that? I think that at that point, I think when Mimi went down there and saw all of that, I think she pretty much understood that she probably would never get justice for her son from Mississippi. I think she understood that. But if you ever watched the documentary or read about it, then you know that they were found not guilty of murdering Emmett Till. And they were supposed to have some federal evidence. The federal FBI was supposed to been pressing charges for kidnapping, the kidnapping of Emmett Till, but that part never happened. I do know that the case was supposed to have been reopened recently, sometime ago, not that far long ago, but I don't think they ever went nowhere with it. The two men that killed Emmett Till, I believe they are both deceased. But the lady who claimed Emmett Till was disrespectful to her is still alive. She did do a not a documentary. She did an interview with someone that was doing a documentary on it, and she stated that she can't remember after all these years exactly what happened that day, but what she do know is that the story she told to the court was not true. Because in court, she testified that Emmett Till grabbed her waist with one hand and took his other hand and put her to him. And that, basically, you know, he was being forceful with her. But, yeah, we all know that's a lie. But, and she said so herself, out of her own mouth, it was a lie. She said he definitely didn't do that. She said she couldn't remember if he had whistled at her, because that's the stories the cousins told. That when it was outside the store and she came outside the store, he had whistled and, you know, she got mad and went to grab a gun out her car and they all took off running, basically. But she said she couldn't remember, but she do know that whatever the case or what happened, he didn't deserve to die behind it. She knew that. And that's not gratifying to someone who helped two murderers get away with murdering a little boy for no reason at all, outside of the fact that he was colored. Period. So, that is the 4 episodes so far. This Thursday coming up should be the last 2 episodes of the series, which I'm going to also do a review on. It is emotional to watch, but I feel we all should watch and support this, because so much of this is lost in the schools to our children. They are not teaching these things anymore. My son didn't know who Emmett Till was until I told him a few years ago, because I decided if the schools are not going to teach our black history like it's supposed to be taught, I would make sure my son knew his black history and he knew it correctly. So I've been teaching my son his history, and I must say I enjoy it, because along the way I've learned things that I didn't know. So I think as parents, we definitely all must participate in making sure our children know our history and not leaving it up to a school system that was never even built to help us in any shape, way, or form. Anyway. So, yeah, that's what it for that review for this. The 4 parts of the series so far, called Women of the Movement. Again, it's on it comes on Thursday on ABC at 8 o'clock. If you do not watch it on there, the next day, which will be that following Friday, it's on Hulu. And right now, if you go have a Hulu account, you can go watch the first 4 episodes. So, I hope you enjoy. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for sticking around and hearing what I had to say. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit that notification bell on your way out so you can be made aware each time I load a video. Thank you and have wonderful days. Mwah.
I swear.